I have this habit of expressing myself and my ideas, and you pointed out like some of the shit I say is pretty fucking abstract, right?
Yeah, it's very high level.
It's like high level stuff, and that is so valid, man. Like a lot of the things I say is kind of in a sense like spiritual, and I completely understand why somebody wouldn't click for somebody who is like, you know, just learning about this stuff. Because like when we talked about when I talked about the masculine soul in the last episode, what the fuck does that even mean, right?
It's something. It's kind of like when you're talking about being present. It's something that you have to experience to really understand it.
That's true.
You know,
and I'm saying things like
if you think about the last couple of times we went out, even for me, like when you were saying you got to be present when you're going out,
right.
You got to truly have fun, you got to feel it in your own body.
Yeah.
Like when we started going out and doing street interviews, when we started going out to the clubs and just having just fun, just for the sake of having fun, like you experience what it's like to be present.
Right.
And so now, like when you say present, I understand what that means. But if you tell someone to be present who's never experienced it before, or you tell someone to, you know, like dig into their soul, if they just haven't had that depth, it's hard to really relate to it.
I completely understand that too, because like if I'm even looking at it, like somebody says, "Oh, when you go out there, just be present." What does that even mean? Like to be present, right? And if you know, if I would have to define it myself, I think just being present is literally interacting with the world around you. Right there in front of you in that moment without having a worry about the past or the future.
Yeah.
And, you know, I said last episode, like, the masculine soul is what penetrates the feminine soul, right?
That was the title of the last pod.
That was
the title of the last pod. That was the theme.
How the masculine soul penetrates the feminine soul. And you brought up, so we had a conversation after that podcast, and you brought up something that was like, actually, you know what? You brought up Steve Erwin, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Right? And then, so why did you bring up Steve Erwin?
Man, because we were talking about penetrating the soul, right? And how what it means. Like, I don't know. When you were talking about that, I was like, for some reason, Steve Erwin came to mind, and we found the perfect video that kind of demonstrates what it is. So I think the best way is just to show.
Right, and then we put this video on, and I was like, "Yo, that right there is the masculine soul."
Yeah.
And so like I could sit here and be like talk about it all day, but it's hard to fucking really understand it unless you at least can see what it looks like. Yeah. And so this video you showed of me, The Legend of Steve Erwin, right?
Yeah.
The beginning of this clip is fucking insane. You know what? I'm just shut up. I'm gonna just fucking play this thing because
let the goat speak.
Let the goat speak himself.
Good as a fast car, a flash house, and a gold-plated dunny to me. Absolutely no good at all. I've been put on this planet to protect wildlife and wilderness areas, which in essence is going to help humanity. I want to have the purest oceans. I want to be able to drink water straight out of that creek. I want to stop the ozone layer. I want to save the world. And you know, money's great. I can't get enough money. And you know what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to buy wilderness areas with it. Every single cent I get goes straight into conservation. And guess what, Charles? I don't give a rip whose money it is, mate. I'll use it and I'll spend it on buying land. All right, mate. All right. This is his territory. It is.
Man.
So I don't know if they can see it on the camera.
We're definitely gonna edit it in so that everybody can see. But I don't know, man. What do you when you see that video? What do you feel? What are you thinking? What is going through your mind, bro?
Bro, it makes me want to get up right now and go save nature. You know what I mean? Go out, jump in a cold stream.
This motherfucker penetrating our soul right now.
Penetrating our souls. But the reason I brought up the video is if you pay attention to the reaction of his wife.
You know, man, like, yeah, 100%. So when, like, if I were to, like, if this is like Steve Erwin is the embodiment of somebody who truly embodies his fucking soul.
Well, we were saying right before this, that's like what we all want to do.
That's all we want to do. Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's feeling a sense of
feel
purpose.
that passion, and we felt that passion even through the screen.
Yeah,
like you cannot, for me at least, like when I watch that video, I can't help but smile, bro.
Really?
And when you look at his wife, bro, like just look at his wife. Just look at the way
There's like an intensity to it.
It's an intensity. There's an admiration. There's this like, damn, like for her, this is what a woman looks like when she's truly like in awe and in love with her man.
Yeah.
Like this woman admires her man. His soul is literally so radiant that it's penetrating her.
Yeah.
And she loves it. And she loves him. And she loves the mission that he has on this earth. And she feels it entirely. So does the camera. So does the person interviewing him. And you know his soul, this man was put on this earth to do exactly what he did if we're still talking about him today after his death.
Yeah, rest in peace to the
Rest in peace, man.
The
Steve Erwin. Steve
Yeah.
Erwin. But yeah, like this puts my words into like something you can actually
reality,
see.
yeah, something
and
you
this
can
is
see.
what like the masculine soul is. Like this
Yeah.
is the man. This is a man who knows why he's been put on this earth.
Yeah.
He knows why he is walking this earth. And therefore, because he can lead in his own life and knows why he's walking this earth, his woman can follow that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's like you can clearly see it. Yeah, I got no words, bro. You see it. But I guess, you know, it kind of segues into like what we talk about, you know, when we see this, how do we, you know, it's important to be passionate about things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if people out there have things they're passionate about. I have a sense that people haven't really tapped into that.
I think that there's like everybody has something they're passionate about,
Yeah.
but they won't let the world know it like Steve Erwin lets the world know it. Does that make sense? Like,
Okay.
and that's what I mean by like if you're a man, I'm sorry, no, let's not even talk about man and woman. Like, just talk about a person, right?
Yeah.
If you're a person and you have a soul and you have something that fucking puts your soul on fire, fucking share it with the world. Why not? You know what I'm saying? You don't have to make it like, oh, I'm going to give up my whole career and blah, blah, blah to...
Yeah.
But Steve Erwin has always been like this.
Why don't you think people are more upfront or tell people about their passions or
They're-
embody it, you know?
I think we're a very tribal species.
Okay.
Like we're a very social species, so the thought of for a person, like the thought of being truly authentic and then being judged and rejected for it is a very, very scary feeling. And we are like, our brains being that our brains have not evolved that much since like caveman days. I think our brain still actually perceives the amount of eyeballs we can have today with the internet to be very, 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 very crippling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we're not, I mean, if you were to actually try, if I were to tell you right now, Nas, try to picture 1 million eyeballs on you, do you think you could do it?
It's intense. It's intense, yeah. It's definitely an intense,
I think
I can't picture it, but like,
yeah,
it's an intense
I
feeling.
can't.
Yeah.
I think I've physically seen like in a stadium, maybe like 20,000, maybe 30,000 at most. But that's a lot of people. 30,000 to 1 million is...
So you think it's just a fear of judgment, essentially, fear of judgment, and
yeah, 100%, man. The thing about radiating from and just being truly authentic to yourself is you're going to be judged. You are going to be judged, and you have to be okay with it. You have to be okay with it. And I think we spoke about this one before, like Socrates. We like philosophy, you know what I mean? Socrates says,
one might call us philosophers.
yeah. we might be some philosophers ourselves.
We some influential philosophers.
Yeah, we're influencers now. Whatever that means, man. We're influencers. We out here influencing. Hey, we can't help it. We can't help it. We can't help it. We can't help it. We're influential, bro.
That's just us resonating our spirit, bro.
Like, we really can't help it. That's just who we are. Anyway. But the point is, bro, that like, what was the point?
But yeah, man, we're talking about just embodying the soul.
Right. Embodying the soul.
And how people are, not willing to do that.
Yeah.
And, gave someone like the...
And you know what? It is scary, right? Like, it's scary to be authentically yourself. Because of that, our animal brain is, like, so tribal.
Yeah.
To be rejected from the tribe is a very scary feeling because that means you're alone, right? But
what do you think you give up if you don't do that? If you don't embody it,
if
right?
you have any ounce, if you believe in, I truly believe you know God, or you believe in God or any type of higher power at all, to abandon that calling deep within your fucking soul is like, I think it's infinitely more painful than the rejection.
Yeah.
It's infinitely more painful. Because what you realize too, once you kind of get used to people not liking you,
yeah,
it just gets way more and more comfortable by like every time you become more truer to yourself.
Yeah. Because you know yourself better.
You know yourself better. Now, obviously, we're still humans, whatever, right? Like, we can't get affected by people saying certain shit or just being just flat out negative or even nasty. Yeah, like, it...
Yo. Oh shit.
Oh,
damn, bro.
No. Okay, so we so booze right now, bro.
Long night of street interviews. Morning do a pod.
Speaking of the street interview, so like a couple of weeks ago, we did our. Was it a couple of weeks ago? We did our first 48-hour.
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
We did a 48-hour fast. It was your first ever 48-hour fast, right?
Yes.
What was your experience with this? Because I've done it, and I remember my first experience with a 48-hour fast was like kind of just put me in a different paradigm. For you, how did it feel, that 48-hour fast? Because I know you, the first time I invited you to do one with me, you kind of did, you just like chickened out and didn't do it, right?
I didn't chicken out. I had obligations.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. So like the 48-hour fast, honestly, where I really felt it was like the last like couple hours.
The last couple hours of the 48-hour fast?
Like that, we were talking about, you kind of prepared me for this. You were talking about how it's like a spiritual experience. I felt that spiritual experience around like day 2, the last like 6 or 7 hours.
What was that spiritual experience for you like, bro? Because you had never done anything like that, like past 24 hours, fasting past 24 hours. So I really want to hear about that experience.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess like some of the obvious stuff that people would think is like, man, aren't you like hungry? Aren't you like super tired? And what's crazy is it was actually quite the opposite. Wasn't really hungry, but like I had this crazy boost of energy. Like I was like hyper focused, present.
When was this? This was like when you woke up the next day, or when was it?
This was like throughout the fast. This was, I would say, like
even in the beginning.
I would say by like nighttime.
By nighttime,
or the first day, so like 8 hours in, when I knew like, all right, I'm not eating.
Yeah.
And we're going out, we're going to do things. Like,
yeah.
It was like this steady, like just in general, a steady rise of energy throughout the entire, a sustained period of energy.
Yeah.
I was like hyper focused. And like during the last however many hours, like as we were cooking food and we're sitting there cooking food, and like I'm thinking about like, man, like it was almost like a liberating feeling to not, like to have less, you know what I mean? To like purposely deprive yourself of something.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
It's starting to. So, what do you mean by it made like purposely depriving yourself of something made you feel like that?
I feel like we just have so much abundance,
Uh-huh.
like with everything that we have in the world. Like, bro, we especially here, we can Rappi anything, any time of the day. Have
Yeah.
like food delivered any time, dude. Our lives
That's
are
true.
fair. Like if you're objective, think about it, like we work for our computers. We live a good life.
That's true, man. Like, when I'm not fasting or anything like that,
Yeah.
I do find myself like, okay, we like, you find yourself snacking?
Yeah, snacking or
Be
just like
snacking. But it's like, why are we snacking even?
Yeah.
Right? But when we were on that 48-hour fast, like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I was extremely productive. Like,
yeah. I mean,
because there was nothing else to do. Like,
you gotta work.
you gotta work. And the 48-hour fast kind of teaches you, like, what the difference is between hunger, real hunger,
Yeah.
and boredom.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we finally broke that 40-hour fast, man, that was like beautiful.
Dude, I mean the whole even the whole cooking process.
Yeah.
Of like sitting there and cooking, and like anticipating that the food was going to come at
Yeah.
12 o'clock or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, I think you said it. You were like, this is real dopamine, or you can't like get this dopamine anywhere else. And
Yeah.
it is. There was a very satisfying feeling of like, I'm preparing this meal. I haven't eaten in 2 days. That you just don't feel like in day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could have whatever you want, and it's like the lack of having something, it almost makes having it way better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like abstaining is actually a much more liberating feeling. You can truly
So
enjoy.
should we? Does that mean we should be abstain from our addictions, bro?
I mean, we have a
If
whole.
you're a sex addict, you should probably abstain from sex. If you're a drug addict, probably abstain from drugs.
Yeah.
Actually, you probably just get rid of that shit altogether. And then like fucking alcohol, anything that's
Well, so-
like drug-like or can give you. an
So
addiction.
I talk about there's like certain addictions I struggle with. You
Yeah.
struggle with addictions, right? And I heard one of these coaches that I follow, I follow martial arts and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of his coaches, name's Coach Faraz the Hobby, he said that most people can never imagine depriving themselves of something, and I thought that was profound.
Who said this?
This is a very well-known MMA coach.
Uh-huh.
He coached like George St. Pierre in the UFC.
Damn,
Like he's
yeah.
high level, but he's also kind of like he's a coach, but he's also a little bit of a philosopher.
Okay.
And I just dig his messages. I find him very helpful.
Yeah.
But he was talking about like this whole kind of thing about what we're talking about now, about like pleasure and like
Yeah.
addiction and these kind of things. And he says most people can never imagine depriving themselves of something.
Right. Okay. So you know what? That. So
And that's
the
what we
other-
did in our 48-hour fast, and I found that to be incredibly like rewarding.
Depriving our you know what, we do live in a world I would call like a microwave society where we
Yeah.
want things in an instant.
Yeah.
And so everything we do today on the internet, things like that, what we're doing is we're instantly gratifying our need for this dopamine or addiction, right? And you see that you see that every day with on social media, the internet. Like that's probably the most covert thing that's like addictive
Yeah,
to like
for
all of
sure.
society right now.
It's a disease. I'll
It's a
say
disease,
that's
yeah,
a disease. It's a
100%.
sickness, for sure.
If you feel like you need
Yeah.
to reach for your phone or you need to
Yeah.
go on the internet, I would call that an addiction.
Yeah, it's a sickness, and like everyone's suffering from it. That's the thing. When everyone's suffering from sickness, it's like no one realizes it's a sickness. You know what I mean? It's just normal.
Yeah. Right,
But
right.
it wasn't normal 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's possible that because it was such a new drug, nobody was prepared.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the social media companies are gonna hate this, right? But like,
Yeah.
there's $1 billion industry designed to keep you addicted to your phones. You
These
know?
tech companies that have the perfect algorithms that are constantly learning, it's true.
They know what they're doing.
They made billions from knowing how people get addicted to things.
Yeah. But this goes to what we're saying, man. Like, I think, you have to, people should try to stay from something. Pick an addiction and try to abstain.
So
from it.
you the other day you were kind of mentioning to me too, like you were telling me like, you just sharing a little bit like how you're happy that like you put in the work, even when it didn't make sense to you. Like,
yeah.
In the beginning, like you said like some of the things that you started like years ago didn't truly make sense to you, but now it's starting to kind of all come together. Can you like elaborate a little bit more on that? Like, what do you even mean by that?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've always been like pretty ambitious, like since I was young. So like, I was always working hard at something.
Yeah.
And I've also had my moments of like, fuck, why am I working so hard, right? Like, you see other people having fun, going out. Like for example, in college, like I just studied. I didn't go out, didn't interact with anyone. And then later on, just like everything that I've done, like I've put in a lot of work to. Nigga, I'm high, bro. We had to cut this part out.
Nah, we don't. We don't at all. This is the almost unfiltered souls right here. Don't even trip, homie. Don't even trip.
But yeah, man, I feel like, when I was young, I did a lot of things that were hard, but
Like
that were like better at like I knew these things were good for me, right? Like for example, like dedicating a lot of time to martial arts, right?
Yeah.
Something that I truly enjoyed, but I also knew there's something good for me. But it's something that's very difficult too, right? Like you saw me the other day coming back from MMA class, all beat up, like I'm fucking tired, just want to go to sleep. Same with like with work. Like during COVID, I was on unemployment. I could have taken 2 years off and done nothing, but like I was trying to flip houses, trying to get into business, and that was like a very painful process. Like trying to do that stuff, like so. Just doing all those things, like having all those experiences, and putting myself through all the situations. I feel like now that I'm older, like things are starting to come together, right?
So it's like kind of like it's been like a kind of a compound.
Yeah,
effect.
like when you're doing things in the moment, like you might have a reason you're doing them, but you might not understand, or you might not see those results, right? And then like that whole time while you're doing it, sometimes you're thinking, oh, is this worth it? Like there's a million other things I could do. I could fuck off, whatever.
I call that the Mr. Miyagi effect. You know what I'm saying?
Why Mr. Miyagi?
Yeah, I mean, remember Karate Kid? That scene from Karate Kid? Like, that scene from Karate Kid where Mr. Miyagi is just making him do all this shit that, like, the kid doesn't understand why he's doing it.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck are you making me paint your car or your fence?
Yeah.
Why are you making me wax your car? Let wax on, wax off, right? And he made him do it so much before he ever taught him karate, right? And then what he realized was because of the discipline, later on, the discipline that Mr. Miyagi made him do all these simple fundamental movements over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It made him realize when he actually started learning some more real karate that it was all those simple fundamental movements all along.
Yeah.
So like to me, when you tell me something like that, you've been working on yourself, chipping away at the man you are today, over and over and over and over and over again, like little by little. Where now today, as a very good-looking 28-year-old big Odeshi man, right? You're here today, and you're like, fuck, like you kind of get to you realize how you've been able to reap the benefits.
Yeah. And it's a process. That's the thing. And when you're younger, and especially, we were talking about social media, something that I really struggled with when I was like 21, 22. You see these guys, they're young guys who've made it.
Yeah.
And the camera rolling?
Yeah.
So you see them make it, and you think that you should have made it already, right? Like you think that like building yourself as a person like just happens instantaneously. But it doesn't. That's
such a good point that you put up, because like if you were to go on the internet right now, which is why like the internet will sometimes rob you of your joy, is because when you go on the internet, you're gonna start naturally comparing yourself to the lifestyles of other people who may have already made it, may already even be younger, might even be younger than you.
Yeah.
and you think that because they're already there and you're not, that you are just way behind.
Yeah, you're somehow behind, or you're not smart
Right.
enough, or whatever it is, you know.
But it's just like, I think the reality is, though, is that possibly that they're just on a different timeline.
Yeah.
They might have had some events in their life that might have sparked a faster achievement of their goals or whatever.
Sure.
But the thing that changed, there was a philosophy I discovered, a Japanese philosophy that pretty much changed my life a few years ago. And it's the philosophy is Kaizen, right? So Kaizen literally means good improvement or continual improvement in the Japanese language, right? And so adopting that philosophy of Kaizen distilled success and going after what you want and realizing your dream life per se is literally comes down to day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, second by second, right?
Yeah.
That's probably not the best chronological order, but literally that. Like, are you continuously improving incrementally?
Yeah.
That is all. And adopting that philosophy changed my life because it took the pressure off of having to achieve a certain goal in the timeline that you need to achieve it. That you did, like, put so much importance on in the exact timeline that that you need to achieve it. But what I've come to realize is that, man, if you just put one foot in front of the other and you keep walking that path, the path reveals itself. And so, like, when you tell me a story like about how you've been working on these little things since you were young and you've always been hard on yourself, like that I can really relate to that, bro. Like, there's some things I wish I worked on harder. Yeah. But there's also things I know I've worked on early and it's I'm even starting to now, like, see the most benefits today. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like 31 now, so.
Well, I'll give some concrete examples. I think I was kind of general about it. Like, for example, like, an easy example that I think people could relate to is, like, when I got out of college, started making some money, right? And I was living in San Francisco, and San Francisco is, like, the most expensive, like, city in the world. One of the most expensive cities in the world. I got this, like, shitty 2-bedroom. Like, I was making good money, like, in the Silicon Valley, and I got this shitty. I got a room. I had to share it with another a roommate. You know what I mean? So that was like, and I could have afforded a nice 1-bedroom. And I saw people doing that, right? I saw people, getting a nice 1-bedroom, first time making money, doing all that. But, like, I knew that, like, man, if I do that, I won't have any money to save.
Right.
Like, I'm just trying to give, like, a practical example, right? Like, I was like, I could save, like, 20, 30 grand if I just live a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So true, bro.
And that just has a compounding effect. Like, that little bit of money kind of launched other things.
Bro, yeah, you spin fire right now, bro, because you really spin fire right now because I think that because people are put so much importance on external factors. Yeah. They feel like they always need to keep up with the Joneses. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They feel like they always need to be keeping up and with the Joneses, and to keep up with the Joneses, oftentimes what's happening is you're overspending. You're spending way more than you actually have. Like, you're depleting your finances. Yeah. But what you did was you delayed gratification.
Delayed the gratification. That's kind of the whole fasting and everything we're talking about. Just like, know where you want to go and, just like delay it.
Delay it.
Put in the work.
So bringing it back to the 48-hour fasting is like, man, like, for us to curb our hunger for an entire 2 days, man, like, that is a mental strength that not everybody has, but I think everybody should probably strive for.
Yeah, I think if people are open to it.
Yeah, if they're open to it.
You have to be open to these things.
You have to be open. And I wasn't open to it until I was open to it. Yeah. And I think everybody has, like I said, when we talk about timelines, everybody has their own timeline.
Everybody's got their
This is why I
timeline.
can't even judge. Like, I can't judge, like, when I bring that information up and somebody's like, replies to my stories like, oh, that's fucking amazing, but can't be me. I won't do that, right?
Yeah.
You don't know until you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Because at some point in your life, you might want to. Because there is a lot of health benefits to 48-hour fasting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
I think this feeds in well to like the whole we wrote down pleasure versus joy,
Yeah.
you know, and
Oh, yeah.
I think this kind of relates to what we're talking about here. And I was reading a book and I was listening to an audiobook, and they kind of made a distinction between pleasure and joy, right? You know, pleasure is kind of something that we experience as a peak.
Yeah.
Like if you think about like, you know, like a curve, like it peaks up.
Yeah.
We experience the intensity,
Intensity, yeah.
and then it drops down. There's an inevitable crash, right? Because if you're at a peak of somewhere, if you're at the top of a mountain, you can't stay on top of that mountain. You got to go down at some point, right? Versus joy being more of a continual, steady state of enjoyment. Like
It's consistent.
It's consistent. It kind of feels good over time.
It's interesting. So you brought this up, right? And I'll bring up something, a caption I saw Dan Bilzerian post.
Okay.
Right. So his caption was, and you know, I'm sure everybody knows who Dan Bilzerian is, right? So Dan Bilzerian is pretty much the modern day Hugh Hefner, right? And he basically has he did have a harem of women at least, and he's led a very, very hedonistic life. And it's fun, right? But his caption that he put in his photo was, happiness is free, or joy is free, right? Pleasure costs money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that like isn't that fucking true though? Like,
It is, man.
anything that gives you a very, very intense spike in dopamine or great feeling is usually associated with money somehow.
With money.
Yeah. Like you have to spend it to have that dopamine or that pleasure.
And how would you
Like I'm drinking wine right now, right?
Right.
This is giving me a little bit of pleasure right now. And honestly, like I spent some money on this, didn't I?
Right. How would you differentiate that with joy?
There's some of the best things in life that are truly just like gives you joy has nothing to like costs 0 cents. Spending time with your friends, doing a podcast,
Yeah.
like just having a talk with your boy. Stepping out in the sun.
The simple things.
Just super
Simple
simple
things.
things.
Yeah. And I guess the reason this whole like pleasure versus joy thing came up is because pleasure is like people can it kind of relates to addiction. People get stuck in this cycle of pleasure, you know, whether it's like the obvious ones, right? Drugs, pornography. What else would you say are like major forms of like pleasure that people get into?
Alcohol.
Or sex. I mean, that's pornography, right?
Alcohol, weed, too.
Yeah.
Everything. Anything that.
Yeah. It feels good in the moment, right? But like as we say, it always comes with interest.
It is, yeah. So that's a very good point. Things that give us pleasure usually comes with interest.
Yes.
Like, it's almost like you're taking free energy from the universe,
Yeah.
but you have to pay for it later.
You have to pay for it.
It's the
yeah.
truth. It's true. The Japanese philosophy, Kaizen, it's something that actually changed my life, is just understanding the power of incremental improvement in
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
So I've taken this philosophy and I've learned entirely new skill sets just from adopting that mindset. Right? Like when I first got into copywriting and writing to basically help people make more money, like in the beginning, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But because I sat down there, I studied every single day, I wrote copy, I copied some of the most successful sales letters in marketing ever. Like, I eventually adopted the identity of a copywriter, right?
Yeah.
I truly began to believe that I was a copywriter.
Brick by brick.
Brick
you know?
by brick, second by second, day by day,
Yeah.
hour by hour. And, you know, people have big goals out there, but most people are so afraid to even start.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is that starting is the only thing you need to worry about. Just starting. Just start, and then keep starting
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
And it compounds on it. Like, you with your fighting, bro. Like, you are an incredible fighter. You could choke me out. You could fucking submit most fucking men, yeah? And it's because you put in that work from the beginning. And you, from what I understand, man, your progression as a fighter has advanced much, much quicker than most people, just because of that.
Yeah, man. I think, you know, it's important to enjoy the things that you do, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a quote, it's like, a man who enjoys walking will walk further than a man who has a destination.
Oh, yeah,
in mind,
right.
And that's kind of the approach that I feel like. What do you think about that approach? Because I feel like if you truly enjoy, like, even the hard stuff, like, you can trick yourself into enjoying those things to the point where you do enjoy them. Have you had that experience?
Yeah, 100%.
Where they're like, because the truth is, anything that's like worthwhile doing or having requires a lot of discomfort.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I would say that. So even for the men 5 years ago, and by the way, I'm still a big boy, fat, right? I'm still a chubby boy, but like, I've lost a lot of weight since where I was when I was at my heaviest.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I learned to actually enjoy the gym. I used to hate going to the gym because I believed, and I believed that was my identity. I believed that I adopted the identity of somebody who didn't like going to the gym, who didn't like working out, who didn't like feeling good, right? Or and it's harder when some of the friends that you have around you in your environment also thought the same way about the gym, right? And so I figured out how to fall in love with doing the hard things when I changed the reasons why I was doing them, right? So I think in the beginning, I was going to the gym for very superficial, surface level reasons.
Yeah.
It was so much harder to stick to it and be consistent in the gym because it wasn't anchored in something actually much deeper to me.
Gotcha.
Like, I was doing it for like, oh, I need to lose weight to be more liked, or I need to lose weight to get more.
So what
bitches.
was changed? Like what is
girls?
now
Sorry,
the...
not girls. Not
not for the girls.
Yeah.
That's hard.
But a lot of the stuff I was doing was also because like my family was telling me you need to lose weight.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't think it really truly shifted until I started doing it for myself. Like truly, like, oh, I actually found that me going to the gym made me feel really good.
Yeah.
And it also gave me this kind of like, it kind of solidified me and put me, grounded me in the sense that like, no matter what was going on in my life, if I just stayed consistent in the gym, I knew that this was the one area in my life I was actually progressing in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And everybody has to have that discipline in their life somewhere.
Yeah, I mean that's like what my martial arts journey has been for me. There was times where like nothing was going right in my life. Like I was no money in my bank account, no good relationships around me, but I had fighting, and I could show up every day and just be at the gym and train, and I knew that I was improving and bettering myself in some way. You know what I mean? So I think everyone needs that anchor to kind of like, because life gets chaotic, so having that helps anchor you and gives you a path and a purpose to walk.
There's always that one thing in your life that you could make the thing that puts you back on your path when you get off of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Just having that practice.
For me, it's at the gym.
Yeah.
You know, I like to lift heavy weights, but I know that if at least I can go to the gym and I can stay consistent in that, and I don't break that. Like, that is just the foundation, and I can do anything really.
Yeah. And you know, like once you learn how to do it in one area, you can apply that to other areas.
Yeah.
So like, for example, like, you know, I talk about like jujitsu, or, you know, when you start, you don't know shit like anything else, right? And you go through that frustrating process of like, fuck, like I suck at this thing, like I just don't know what to do. And you know, we've experienced this when we dance bachata, right? Like, you know, we look at like some fools out there trying to like, you know, dance with these women because like it's frustrating when you don't first know. But like, the process, and once you learn how to do something, there's a learning process that applies to everything that you do.
That's so true. So what is like the journey of learning? What is the skill of learning? Because that is a skill set in itself, is like the ability to learn.
Yeah.
So from my experience, like, you please let me know how you kind of experience it too. But for me, what I know to be a fact is when I need to learn anything new, I know and I fully accept in the beginning it's gonna be awkward as fuck. Like, I know in the beginning I'm like, I'm gonna suck at this. I'm gonna suck at this so bad it hurts. It literally is painful. Like, we're learning some dance skills right now. Right? We learn some bachata, you know what I'm saying, right now? We're learning some salsa right now, right? And I'm gonna tell you, we suck, right?
My salsa's alright.
Yeah, your salsa's alright. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, like, you know, we're the only two gringos in a class. And like, it's so obvious that we suck. But it's like you have to laugh it off, like, because that is the easiest way to learn something new is to have fun with it. Because if you can't have fun with learning something new, then it's just going to be pure suffering the entire time. So even though there is suffering for us, right, in the dancing game, it's easy to when you just come at it like, damn, we're just having fun and we can laugh it off at how stupid we look. It makes it so much more digestible. It makes it so much more digestible.
Anytime you start something new, you're gonna suck at it. Right. And it's like, for me, it's a feeling of frustration because, like, you know, I want to do things well. And that's the kind of person I am. So it sucks to know that you can't do it, but that's kind of why it's so great, because it teaches you, like, it kind of teaches you humility. Like, anytime you try something new and that's difficult, it kind of teaches you, like, okay, like, don't take yourself too seriously. You'll get better at it.
That's so true,
as long as you apply yourself over time.
And you've done that really well with pretty much anything you've tried to learn, right? Like,
well, like I said, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think once you've experienced it in one thing, you can apply it to
you apply the principles of success are pretty much the same.
That's kind of why, like, fasting and, like, leaning into that discomfort is beneficial, because now you're comfortable with that feeling. And then you can apply that feeling in other areas. That's how I see it,
Okay, so let me ask you a question, though, bro. Like, so you said you put yourself in hard situations most of your life, right? And you're happy that you started those things early, and like you learned, and now it's compounding on itself. But let me ask you a question, bro. Like, have you ever been motivated to do those things because of an external factor? Like, maybe somebody in your life is like, nah, you can't do that shit, or like they hating, or like they don't believe you can actually do it, and then it actually makes you go fucking prove that shit wrong, or
for sure. I think I've probably driven a lot by that. Like, when people like underestimate
100%.
You know,
I'll tell you. I'll share a quick story about what one of my first incidents when I was a lot younger. I was in high school, and I was in like the band or whatever, right? I was a band geek. I really wanted to be in the drum line. And I had zero skills with drumline, right? I had zero skills learning drums, right? But I really wanted to be in the drum line. I really wanted to play this, what we call like the quads, like the quinces, like where it's like multiple drums. In the drum line, and like,
is that where you're like standing up with it?
You're standing up with it. There's like a harness on you. You're like,
I know exactly.
Right? So I remember really wanting to be in the drum line, but one of my friends, like, was like, man, like, you know, like, I know you want me to drum line, but like it's really hard, man. I don't think you can. I don't think you can make it. I don't think you should. I don't think like I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. What was that feeling? Like, how'd you feel like after he said that?
And it was a girl. I remember it was a girl, a female friend, right?
Yeah.
I remember her telling me that, and me just being like, just fucking watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just fucking watch. Like, to me, that was like, I don't know. It started early for me when I realized that people project their own limitations on you.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I have to almost even thank her, because that fueled me. Because that summer, I dedicated myself to learning fucking rhythms and sticks and drumming on textbooks.
It's the best thing that could have happened to you.
Within that fucking summer, I learned a lot, and I got so good enough where I like was able to make the drum line as almost even like the co-captain.
Yeah.
But that
fire came from somewhere.
That told me that like people's bullshit reality that they try to project on you is such bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, your experience has nothing to do with my own experience. It's the truth. Mm-hmm. And that's your perspective, and fine. But you should never adopt somebody else's perspective and allow it to weigh down in your life where you cannot actually go out there and live the potential of your fucking life.
Yeah. You got to see it and try it for yourself.
And I took that for pretty much everything else in my life, man. Like, if somebody really didn't think I was going to fucking be able to do anything, bro, I always fucking proved them wrong, I guarantee you. But, you know, it became something that I didn't even have to prove to other people anymore. Eventually, it morphed into like, yo, I just want to do this. Like, I know I've been doing it. I've been disproving people for so long. I'm just like, I literally just know that I can do it.
Yeah, I think the mindset changes, right? Like, that's a good fire to have. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, fuck what they said. I'm gonna go and make it for myself, right?
Yeah, it's exactly.
But I think at some point you realize, you know, we were talking about this earlier today. It's like, if you believe in God, I guess I think that's how you put it. Like, you want to give your best self out there. You know what I mean? You want to fulfill your purpose to the best of your ability, and you know, not waste this time that you have, and essentially maximize your potential. Like, you have the capability to do something, why not go do it?
Yeah.
Like, why play back? Why hold small? Especially if you realize that, like, that's bullshit. Like, you don't have to play small. Because I think some people are stuck in that. They're stuck in their limiting beliefs of, like, you know, I can't do this. You know, I can't start this business. I can't go talk to that girl, whatever it is. But once you realize you can, then, like, there's a responsibility you have to, at least I feel that responsibility to maximize that. Be the best possible version of yourself.
It is your responsibility, man. And actually, I think so, because you just told me so. Like, because you believe it's your responsibility, I fully accept it. Like, again, like, I think for a man to truly step into something and say, yo, this is my responsibility and kind of like my duty to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
I think that's the most noble thing a man can do, man. Like, for real.
Well, I mean, what's your experience with that? Do you feel like, have you had that same experience? I'm wondering if that's like a common experience.
Experience of what?
Just like, I feel like you have, because I wonder if people like sell themselves short. Because I feel like a lot of people sell themselves short, and I'm not sure if it's because they have a limiting belief or they just don't have that same drive.
I can tell you right now, it's a limiting belief. And what's crazy about that limiting belief is they don't even realize it's not theirs. It's not even their belief. Yeah. It was a belief that was conditioned into them by somebody else.
Yeah. You think so? You think that's where a lot of it comes from?
I know so. Because, like, bro, when you were a kid, when you were a truly little kid and you hadn't been fucking run through the gutter of the world and shit like that with all this bullshit, like, weighing down on you, you believe you could be anything. That's the truth. And you were uninhibited in the sense that, like, social conditioning had not weighed on you at that point so much that it stopped you from just being your truly authentic self, your inner child.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that a man has two choices when they want to do something in this world, and that is that when they're met with adversity, they have two choices. They have the choice to either give in, fold to the pressures of society and judgment and their closest friends and family telling them not to do something, and they can just fold to that and live a life of quiet desperation,
Yeah.
or they can decide to be a fucking legend. That's it.
Hey, bro, if you're gonna be extraordinary, you gotta do some extraordinary things.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And you know what? I know a lot of people hate Andrew Tate, right? But Andrew Tate said something interesting to me. And he said it, and I agree with him. He said that if you're going to want to live an extraordinary life, then you have to accept the duality of that. That extraordinary life doesn't mean all good and beautiful and like pretty things. With an extraordinary life comes the other side, which can be dark and heavy and scary at times.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and that's
a good
true.
point. That's a good
it's
point.
true. So, hey man, I guess if you want to have an extra,
You can't have the flower without the dirt, right? You can't have the flower without the dirt. You gotta come from the wood.
What are you, Gandhi? What are you, Mahatma Gandhi over here? Damn, man, you can't have the flower without the dirt.
You can't, bro.
Fuck with that. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You gotta work for
That's
it.
true, man. That's true. Speaking of that, though, speaking about that, a lot of people think players are dirty. A lot of people think players are dirty, right? I guess the player has a negative connotation with it, right? So what?
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know
it
what I'm
does.
saying? So like, a lot. So this is from my experience. What I've noticed is that a lot of girls like they hate on the player, or they hate on the guy that like probably has a lot of women around them, or like a lot of women like. But at the same time, what you see behind the scenes is that they constantly want to be with this man, right? Now, if you were, I think the disconnection comes from from people having different definitions of what a player is. So, what do you think a player is?
I think we're probably aligned on what a player is because we've talked a lot about it. But I could definitely like. I mean, like, I guess another way to put someone might put it is like a fuckboy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people might equate those two things as the same thing. And I think when people think about players, they think about someone who lies and manipulates women. And, you know, they might have multiple women, but they do it in a way that's dishonest. And
You know what's
that's
interesting
hurtful.
though? I don't think that's funny because you're right. Like the connotation of a player, that is what it is. Like a man who manipulates and lies constantly.
A
But
cheater.
A
cheater, you know what I mean?
cheater, shit like that, or they have to deceive to get what they want. But if I'm being straight up with anybody out there, bro, I don't think you're a player unless you can be honest and still get what you want. That's the truth. If you really are the player you say you are, then you should be able to be straight up, like honest, and still get what you want out of life, for real.
Yeah.
Because then you're truly embodying the most authentic version of yourself, instead of hiding behind shades of gray. And you know what? Shades of gray can be fun too, because these girls like the shades of gray. But what I'm really trying to say here is that, you can live an honest, authentic life, and still get what you want. I don't think you have to lie and fucking and deceive people and create more trauma and hurt in this world just to live the life you want.
To me, that's the main thing. Yeah, it's like you should be able to be like, we talk a lot about authenticity. You should be able to be authentic about what you want. And the other part is, why fuck people over? Why create trauma?
You ain't gotta do that.
You ain't gotta do that. Why? The goal is here to be a spiritual gangster.
Spiritual gangster.
Here to be a spiritual gangster.
Yes, sir.
That's what we're trying to do.
We actually trying to do better.
Yeah.
In this world, and although better could be, based on somebody's perspective, being a player often comes with a negative connotation, right? Like, but it's hard because you see women love a player because he knows how to play the game.
Plays the game.
And it keeps it exciting and thrilling.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're being very, very just straight up honest, women love the thrill of emotions that usually a player can provide for them and give them.
Right.
We talked about this before, like, girls often like watching drama shows because of the emotions it brings up for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the player, he's also comfortable with sitting in negative emotion. So we talked about what is your experience with this, right? So you've recently had a kind of a revelation about this, right?
About what? About negative?
About negative emotion?
Yeah. Just this idea that, what it applies especially to girls, but it applies to anyone, is like this idea that just because someone has a negative experience or a negative emotion associated with you, especially if it's come from a genuine place from yourself, like that's not a bad thing.
No.
It's not a bad thing for someone to feel a negative emotion.
No, it's not, because we all go through negative emotions.
Yeah. Sometimes we kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's the Western kind of culture too. It's like, it's always fake nice.
Yeah,
fake, like super, like life is always good. Everything's always like positive, sunny.
That's
blah,
so
blah,
true,
blah.
bro. Fake nice is like a very like real thing in America.
It is,
being
yeah.
fake nice instead of just being honest and authentic. Like
there's a way to, like, obviously, like expressing negative emotion. There's a way to do it in like a calibrated way, right? You don't want to just go crazy and start yelling at people,
right?
But we, like you said, we all feel these emotions.
Right.
It's important to be able to, like, understand that you got to feel both. You got to feel the positive and negative, and it's okay for someone to feel the negative about you. You have to be comfortable with that.
But also imagine though, if life was only positive emotion all the time.
Yeah. It's boring.
It's boring. And it's like predictable, and it's like not fun. Yeah. It's not exciting, and it's like, what else?
So how about we embrace those negative emotions?
You have to embrace them. And also, men also have to embrace the negative emotions that the negative emotions they might give the world just from being their true, authentic selves.
Yeah.
So, like, let's bring it back to the dynamic of, like, men and women.
Mm-hmm.
If whatever you did or something you said or something you did and you were coming from an honest place, an authentic place, your woman took it as a negative thing or like might have felt a negative emotion out of it, does that necessarily mean that it's bad?
Yeah. It doesn't, and we've kind of, I don't know if we touched on it any time recently, but like the reason that I feel people don't, when it comes to women, don't do that is because they want to please, and just, how do I say it? Like they want to supplicate to the woman. They don't want to make someone upset. But I think you got to be able to express yourself honestly, and if you authentically feel a negative emotion, you should be able to express that.
And here's a caveat to that, is that if you're gonna express your emotions or your negative emotions to somebody, or like your disapproval or something, man, do it from a place where you're grounded and you've already fucking went through those emotions and you know what the fuck it is, so that you're not like exploding on somebody.
And also you're not projecting,
Yeah. So you're not laying that shit that your own fucking. What you have to do, there's a way to do things in a charismatic way that's calm and grounded and stable.
Yeah.
And expressing your boundaries in a way that doesn't hurt somebody.
Yeah.
But it's still strong and firm.
Yeah, and it's a liberating feeling too, man, for yourself. Like when you give less fucks about what people think.
Yeah.
It opens up to you to be more genuine.
Yeah.
And connect with people who are on that wavelength,
Yeah. So wait, have you been able to experience that recently?
I would say more so like I'm experiencing just like going out doing these street interviews, going out with the sole purpose of just like enjoying and expressing myself.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of been like the theme of the last couple of weekends of going out. Just been let's just go out and have a great time.
Have you noticed like it's just been so much easier coming from that frame, like of just enjoying yourself when we go out? Like you go out and like we're just having so much genuine fun that like you're a joy to be around, and people kind of gravitate around you. Want to be around
it comes from within, right? You talk about God to be the change you
yeah.
want to see. Boy.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's like there's a place to give fucks about things, but like you shouldn't take yourself too seriously. I think that's kind of what I've realized. There's things to be serious about, but taking your own personality, your own ego seriously is it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not. And you know what? You said so I want to kind of circle it back to how you said you started a lot of things early in high school, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about this the other day, was that I made the observation that like a lot of people that I used to know in high school peaked. Like they peaked in high school.
Yeah.
Like they just stopped working on themselves. They've stopped improving. They've stopped learning new things and stuff like that. So like, at least from my perspective, it seems like a lot of people have peaked in high school, and I'm grateful that high school wasn't that easy for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm grateful that I still had so much to learn later on in life that it's still propelling me today, where I'm still advancing, and like I consciously know there are things I could be like to do a lot better with. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I don't know what your experience with that is. I'm happy. I feel like I haven't even hit my peak yet. Not even close to it.
Yeah, I feel like hardship is a good thing. You know what I mean? Like going through hard things.
Yeah.
Is probably the best thing that could happen to you. You know what I mean? Like. Same with me. Like I grew up pretty broke compared to like other people that I grew up around. Minority, right? Immigrant, feeling alienated, all those kind of things. And I look at those things more of a blessing now.
Yeah.
Because they drove me to like push myself
Yeah.
more. You know what I mean?
I think that it's interesting because I think that a good amount of people got it too good too soon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is the kind of theme of the whole conversation about this whole abundance thing.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of want the opposite. It's counterintuitive, but you want to be starving a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's a good thing.
Bringing it back to the 48-hour fast, we were starving a little bit.
You want to. Like human beings are meant to endure difficult things. That's it's what's great about being a human being.
What was that clip from Andrew Huberman that you sent me about like when you're doing hard things, some part of your brain grows.
It consciously expands. I wish I had the clip. Maybe we'll find the clip and post it. But yeah, he was talking about that, like your ability, like when you take on challenges. He's talking about a physical part in the brain that actually grows as you take on those challenges, and when you don't take on challenges, it shrinks.
Yeah.
But we all experience it, right? When we take on a challenge, we become stronger. We feel more capable, and when we lean into comfort too much, we lose that. We kind of think that everything feels harder. You know what I mean? And I just think it's important to go chase difficult things. And like you said, with the whole Kaizen thing, like you don't have to climb the mountain on the first day.
Nah, you don't.
Pick something that's challenging enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's a little bit scary, but
that's
you
in your soul.
Right?
Like it's telling you, like I should try this.
Yeah.
Like go try it.
Yeah.
It's scary enough that you want to try it, but it's not so scary that you can't do it. Yeah, right? And like
choose a challenge that you're willing to do.
Yeah.
And that has a snowball effect. That momentum it compounds over time. The more you do challenging things, the more you realize you're more capable than you think you are.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like everyone who's great, like obviously there's outliers who have like super intelligent or whatever, but everyone who's great are just human beings, and like we have the same capabilities as them. You know what I mean?
what's that one quote? Most people underestimate what they can do in a year.
Yep. The exact quote I don't know, but it's along that. You can look it up.
Let me
But,
pull that shit. I don't want to butcher it. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years.
yeah, I mean it's that whole compound thing. It's truly enjoying the process, man, and working day by day. And you look back and you're like, damn, built something beautiful, you know?
Right, exactly. So, speaking about something beautiful, I do want to talk about marriage a little bit. Now, I don't have any experience in marriage.
Okay.
But I do have a lot of my boys who are about to get married or like they want to get married and things like that. And I think actually, I really think a beautiful relationship is a marriage that is truly based on the foundation of like honesty and like spirituality can be a really, really beautiful thing. But I do think that a lot of people rush to get married. What do you think? Because I know you come from a very conservative background.
Yeah, I guess my perspective is going to be like very based on how I grew up, right? I mean, I grew up in a Muslim family, very conservative, and a lot of the people that I know from my community, they get married very young. Typically, it's like an arranged marriage, or there's a lot of pressure to get married young, essentially, right? Some people get arranged, some people find a partner, but there is a push to get married young for sure. I see that. I don't know if those same people, if they didn't have that pressure, would get married young. But that's kind of my experience with that.
So we have an interesting kind of like background where our kind of cultures has a history of arranged marriages, even recently.
Yeah.
Like I understand like in my family like what an arranged marriage is, right? And so when it comes to an arranged marriage, it's so interesting because if you're arranging a marriage and they're not compatible, what does that mean? Like, does that mean like you have to completely turn a blind eye to your boundaries and like what you like and what you think fits best for your life to appease somebody else? And it's hard because it's usually your family. So what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I struggle with that too, man. I struggle with that, like, as a current day. It's like, part of it is, like, you have to know yourself enough to make that decision. You know, how much are you willing to compromise versus, how much you would express your authentic self.
So because of that background, I'm so for my boys like getting married and whatnot, but I do truly want them to get married for the right reasons and not because they feel pressure from society. If you truly love this girl, if this girl truly brings a lot of value into your life and you want to do that, you want to bless it with a marriage, then by all means. But I will because being this the person I am, I will challenge you in subtle ways so that you actually know that is what you want.
Okay, because you brought up this question, right?
Yeah.
What are some reasons that you think people get married that are the wrong reasons that you see?
There's a lot, man. I think on the man side, I think many men get pressured to get married really soon because the typical age to get married is like anywhere from 27 to 35 maybe. But if you don't want to get married, then why would you rush that? You know, then what's happening is you're just creating a hostile and an inauthentic environment for yourself and the girl you were pressured into getting married with. Two, if you think that getting married means you're gonna have access to unlimited sex your entire life, bullshit as well.
Yeah,
because
that's
I
a
know
lie.
also a lot of married men who
There's plenty of men
who are experiencing a lot of terrible sex lives with
Yep.
their current partner, and that goes pretty deep, to be honest. Another wrong reason I would think to get married is because you don't wanna you are terrified of the feeling of being alone. But and if we're gonna get really real here, if you cannot be alone, if you can't accept the fact that you can be alone before you get married, then you shouldn't even get married. Because what you're doing is you have a very, very toxic attachment to that person. So I truly believe that two whole people can be together synergistically if they don't feel that other person leaving them will fucking destroy their lives.
What do you mean by that last part?
If you got married to somebody and you have this binding oath, but for some reason that didn't play out the way you wanted it to play out, which was to be to last forever, would it destroy you completely? Was your sense of self-worth dependent on that person?
Have you had boys that you have experience with this?
I don't think that. Actually, hold on. Yes, I do. Sorta, kinda. And the reason why is because I think I still feeling I'm pretty young, and my boys are still around the same age I am, or even younger. But some I do, and I do know that some of my boys are in marriages where they feel like they don't think they're there's like it's very not satisfying for them at all. Like the value has completely skewed the other way. Like there has to be a sense of where like there has to be a sense in a marriage or any type of relationship where you actually like you enjoy being here. Like, I really enjoy it. And we talked about this before, where we're like in some sense everybody who gets together and gets into a relationship is benefiting from the other person for selfish reasons in some way.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. That's just human nature. We all benefit from each other from in a certain way. But once a person starts to not benefit and at all, and like you're not happy, that's when problems I have noticed start to arise.
So how does, maybe we're not qualified to answer this question, but what would you say, like, there's a lot of wrong reasons to get married. So how would you come up with finding the right reasons? You know what I mean? Like, what would you advise people to do before, like, what would you advise your boys, like, before they got married? Like, what is it stuff that they should work on themselves? Like, internally, should they be thinking about certain things? What is it that you would advise?
I think that throughout life, we're always going to have shit that we need to kind of work on ourselves, for sure. But I think that you should get to a point where you have an inner knowing that you've worked on yourself enough that you can get through anything. before you really get into
Yeah.
any type of relationship like that. Yeah, because man, like, if you have certain wounds and you haven't really patched that up, you'll start bleeding on other people. And we do that so much today. So I feel like the further we can get away from that, the better. The further away we can get of like actually patching up our own wounds and not having to fucking deal with that. Like
instead of attaching on to other people.
Yeah. Instead of having to brush it off on other people, man, like, the better. The better. But hey, man, it's a process. It's a journey. Who am I to say? I don't even know. I don't even know the truth. I'm just speaking from my experience. But I do feel like a lot of people have not worked on themselves enough before they put all the sense of self-importance on somebody else. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's actually, yeah. Makes sense, bro. Where we at?
Oh yeah.
Is there anything else, or that was the last topic?
What's the final level of Riz, Nas? What is the final level of game, Riz? What is the final level of this journey, bro?
That you're talking about. You're talking about the top G level, bro.
Yeah, that's the top level right there. You just become top G. Top G level Riz, bro. Top G level Riz. Or is it just, or is it being able to get our own sugar mama? You know, or it's just fucking cougar.
I think so, bro.
Being able to pay for our entire lives. Maybe the roles get completely switched. Maybe that's the top level.
You don't want to take the lead no more. You want a woman to take care of you. You know what I mean?
That's the final level of Riz right there. Level, you went from taking the lead to just
bro. You fully embrace the identity.
You embrace the identity so much.
Player Nirvana.
Yeah. Exactly. Player Nirvana. You reach pimp Nirvana, and you just don't give a fuck anymore. You're like, all right, you want to do what you want to do. That has to be. Yeah, that has to be. Bro, what else can it be?
Take me out. Why be dying me? You know what I mean?
Go, baby, take me out, girl. Pay for the whole bill.
Man, that's it.
Shit,
hey, man.
To get into that final level, that final boss, huh?
Hey, Kyle said one step at a time.
Let's get it, baby.